Victor, how do you actually view quality, and do you have any tips and tricks from your point of view on how to get and keep high quality leads so you can run campaigns for a longer period of time?
Ooh, that's a complex question to answer briefly. I mean, basically everything that you do will affect quality. It starts with the traffic source you pick. For example, running pop-under traffic is different than running a well-targeted display traffic campaign. Pop-unders just appear out of nowhere and they interrupt the user, whereas the second example that I mentioned you target a specific user in a way that they need to click a banner, so they're more proactive on their end. So they choose to do something. And in the first example, they just don't have that kind of choice. So you're pre-selecting users differently. The targeting settings that you use will also condition the quality from the start. One example that we've run many times has to do with language. Like, for example, if you run in Germany, I would recommend that you still target only German language users. And then what this allows you to do is you exclude naturally a lot of users that might not be the best fit for that offer. So they'll be curious, they'll check it, and they'll just going to sign up. But if you are promoting a German-speaking offer, then they're not going to pay for it because they're just not in the best position to do that. Same with the operating system. You'll also find out that different OSs have different backend qualities and so forth. Ultimately, a lot of that has to do with the feedback that you're going to get from your affiliate manager. And I recommend from anyone getting started to tag correctly your sources. That means that you can pass down sub-ID values to Cake, and the affiliate manager can look into that and give you advice on what source is working in what way. So in some cases, if there's not much traffic, I would suggest to have at least one ID per source. But if you have, for example, you're working with some of the bigger traffic sources and you're running display, native, and pop, let's say, then you can have different sub-IDs for each, and you'll also get some information as to what's working. It's also, if you look into the funnel itself, you need to paint a congruent and straightforward journey from the banner all the way to the sign up. And every element that you use will have an impact on that backend performance. So it's important also to understand, what kind of message you're putting out. And one example here is that I see some people that they want to get, those additional clicks or sales at the beginning, and they use the word free because that, of course, attracts people's attention. But that's a bad idea if you think about it, because you want to make sure that you don't mislead users or overpromise on claims. So if you keep saying free all across the funnel and you emphasize that, when somebody becomes a member of that service and they find out pretty quickly that that's not a free service, that's going to backfire for the backend and, of course, for your payouts as an affiliate. There's a lot more things that we can talk about. Like, one of the typical ones that you hear everywhere is about first impression. That has to do with the role that the banners play. If a person clicking through understands the benefit of the product, that's one part, that's what I discussed before. But it's also to keep in mind the position that they find that banner. It's not the same to get a lead from an above the fold top right square in the homepage. That is the first impression that the user sees, than a footer that is buried deep down and is impression number 30 or more. So that predisposition, you're going to get it in the first impression better than in the 30th impression. I mean, we can spend hours talking about these, but ultimately just learn to ask the right questions from your affiliate manager and just use common sense. Behind those visits and clicks and conversions, in the end, what you have is also real human beings. So try to learn to put yourself in their shoes, because that's, in the end, one of the biggest things you can do to increase your media buying IQ, bar none.
Great, and definitely some interesting insights. I just wanted to quickly go back. You mentioned traffic quality related to the type of format. So I wanted to see if there's a short summary on ranking the traffic sources in terms of quality and what you've seen to work.
It is so it's complicated to do because you can group them by, for example, I just mentioned before, display and email. If you start with email, the quality of the email will depend basically on the source of that lead, the source of that email list. So you have sometimes traffic networks that compile really fresh email lists, and some other ones that have been basically reselling that email over and over again. So you can expect a much different quality from each. Display is also the same. If you buy display traffic, banner traffic, in this case from a members area source, from users that already have made that decision, that is very different than having display on a pop under, placement in which people maybe are not that interested, or they don't find the relevance between what you're talking about in the product. So it's important to understand a little bit about what traffic you're buying. Typically, the higher the CPM, the most likely the higher the quality, although that's of course different, but you will understand that a lot of media buyers have been optimizing for a long time, so you can expect them to spend more money for sources that are actually rendering more money in the back end. So that's something to keep in mind. I would say in the end, just test it. Make sure to tag all the sources and learn exactly for what works from your funnel and the offers that you're running. And then eventually you'll have your own white lace and black lace of what kind of sources you should run. But like I said before, if you just think about it rationally, you can kind of understand what those users are going through and what is the likelihood of them actually wanting to spend more in the product.
Thanks, Victor. So definitely some important considerations on the front end side of things. I'd like to talk a bit about the considerations in terms of back-end performance. So Paul, what are those key metrics as an advertiser, key things you are looking for in terms of quality?
Well, I mean, we're, of course, as an advertiser, yes, we're looking for back-end performance. Not only, I mean, some people say, yeah, you're only looking at the back end. Partly true. I mean, front-end performance is also very much important for us. I mean, if the front-end performance is too low, it's not interesting for affiliates, and basically we wouldn't get enough traffic or not any traffic. So yeah, we try to do everything within our power, creating a high conversion rate and a high payout, resulting in that killer EPC for our affiliates. But we need to find that sweet spot. Like Victor said, sometimes affiliates have a super high conversion rate, for example, by using the word free. But as a result of that, the backend performance is very low, payout will drop, and then, yeah, no one is happy. So I think there is a sweet spot between front and backend performance. Going a bit deeper into the backend performance as an advertiser, yeah, of course, backend performance is leading for us. And this is, what often is referred to as quality. Quality. Everyone's talking about quality. If we put it real black and white, we just care about how much revenue the leads generate. Now, of course, that's put very shortly. The more the better, because this also enables us to pay more per lead. But if I would take this a bit more on a granular level, I think I touched upon them shortly before in this webinar, but metrics that are important for us are, for example, the lead to sale ratio, which is how many of the leads that you generate actually start spending money. Doesn't say anything about how much money they spend, but just a ratio between how much leads did you generate and how many of them started spending something. Then there's ARPU, ARPU, which is the average revenue per user, saying something about what is the average of all the leads that you generated, and what is the average revenue generated per lead. And like I said before, there's another one which is not too familiar usually, which is RPPU, which is the average revenue per paying user. So that's the difference, if it's an average revenue per user or per paying user. And that last metric, together with ARPU, really tells us something about, what I said before. Is this revenue coming from one big spender, or is it evenly generated across all your users? So I would say that these are the three leading metrics for us: lead to sale ratio, ARPU, average revenue per user, and average revenue per paying user. Now this is, we have a dedicated pricing team at Advidi of around 6 people. Basically, they're analyzing day and night, looking at these metrics of all the traffic that comes in. And then based on these 3 metrics and a few more that I will not dig into today, they will determine your affiliate payout. And yes, these can change depending on the quality that you're sending us.